You'd think the most natural shoe would be the best shoe for arthritis. That's exactly where thousands of people over 50 are going wrong right now. Scientists have found that zero-drop shoes, the ones being called revolutionary, joint-friendly, and natural, can increase pressure on the exact part of the knee most damaged by arthritis. The very feature being advertised as the solution may be the thing making things worse. One of my viewers, let's call her Carol, switched to zero-drop shoes because her neighbors swore by them. 3 weeks later, her knees hurt so badly she'd stopped taking her daily walks. The thing she loved most, gone. She's not alone, and if you're wearing these shoes or even thinking about it, this video may save you from that same outcome. Today, exactly what these shoes do inside your knee, why the science used to sell them doesn't apply after 50, and what to wear instead. Zero drop simply means flat, no raised heel, heel and toe at the same level. That one small design change, just a few millimeters, creates a completely different force pattern inside the arthritic knee. Shoe companies borrowed this idea from barefoot running research. Sounds natural, sounds logical, but here's what every ad leaves out. That research was done almost entirely on young, healthy runners. No arthritis, no joint damage, no decades of wear. It was never designed for people over 50 with knee problems. Now, to be fair, some people do well in zero-drop shoes. Younger people, certain foot types, no existing joint damage. The problem is that arthritis changes the equation completely. And here's why. The Achilles issue is real, but it's not the main reason people eventually quit these shoes. The real reason is what they do directly inside your knee joint. First, the chain reaction that starts at your heel. Without this, the knee damage doesn't make sense. Picture a rubber band that's been sitting in a drawer for 20 years. It still stretches, but it resists, it pulls. It doesn't snap back the way it used to. That's your Achilles tendon after 50. In gait labs, scientists have found it loses meaningful elasticity with each decade after 40, stiffer, tighter, less forgiving with each passing year. Now, a zero-drop shoe asks that cord to stretch flat with every single step. What happens next is the part nobody warns you about. That strain changes how your ankle moves, and when your ankle mechanics shift, even slightly, the effect travels straight up. Your knee has to compensate. It loads differently, wears differently. Most people feel it as general fatigue at first. My knees are just tired lately. Then soreness. Then they're back at the doctor, confused because they thought they were finally doing the right thing. But here's what I need you to understand. The problem isn't just your foot. It's where that altered force ends up 500 steps later. Here's the simplest version of what's happening inside your knee. Zero-drop shoes subtly shift your weight forward with every step. When your weight shifts forward, your knee absorbs more of that load, specifically the front of the knee, right behind the kneecap. Guess where arthritis most commonly begins damaging tissue first? Right there. When arthritis patients walked in minimal, low-heel footwear, scientists measured significantly higher stress behind the kneecap compared to standard shoes. Every step, more pressure on the most damaged tissue in your knee. If I handed you 2 shoes right now, a trendy zero-drop model and a plain, boring, moderate heel walking shoe, for arthritic knees, I would choose the boring one every single time. The trendy one looks better. The boring one feels better after mile 2, after month 2. Now, here's something that genuinely surprised me when I first saw the research. The surface you walk on may matter more than the shoe itself. Zero-drop shoes were designed for soft, natural terrain, dirt, grass, ground that gives a little with each step. On that kind of surface, the system works. The ground absorbs some impact, the foot spreads naturally. But most of us aren't walking trails. Here's the number that stopped me cold. Concrete is roughly 10 times harder than natural ground. 10 times. Because even the best shoe can only absorb so much force if the ground underneath it barely gives it all. which means on your kitchen floor, your grocery store, your neighborhood sidewalk, in a zero-drop shoe, there's almost no shock absorption happening. Every impact travels from the ground through your foot directly into your knee. For someone with healthy cartilage, manageable. For someone with arthritis, where that cushioning is already thinning, that force has nowhere to go except into damaged tissue. The shoe's designed for nature, worn on surfaces 10 times harder than nature. Now, the specific group of people these shoes hurt fastest. And notice something here. The most vulnerable people are almost always the most motivated. The people most attracted to zero-drop shoes are often the exact people who should be most cautious about them. Think about who seeks out natural footwear. Usually someone who has been dealing with knee pain for years, someone who has tried everything, someone who's hoping, really hoping that a simpler solution might finally help. Motivated, proactive, searching, and often the highest risk person in the room. If you've ever been told your cartilage is thinning and you've been quietly looking for a natural solution ever since, this is the part you need to hear. The people who struggle most with these shoes tend to have 3 things in common. Arches that roll inward with every step, already creating sideways stress on the knee. Zero drop removes the support that fights that. Previous cartilage loss or knee injuries, where the joint no longer has the cushioning to absorb extra load. And regular walking on hard surfaces, which turns every step into an unabsorbed jolt. Quick self-check. Does your inner shoe edge wear down faster than the outer? That's your arch rolling inward. Has a doctor mentioned thinning cartilage or bone on bone in your knee? Do your knees feel noticeably worse after hard surface walks compared to 5 years ago? 2 or more yeses? You are exactly the person this shoe trend was never designed for. So what should you actually wear? Most people focus on the wrong thing entirely when buying shoes for arthritis. Here's what the research actually shows. The most common mistake I see, someone walks into a shoe store, squeezes the sole, and buys the softest one they can find. Feels like the right move, more cushion, more protection. That's usually exactly wrong. Ultra soft foam feels incredible in the store. 6 weeks later, it's collapsed. Your knee has been absorbing the difference without you realizing it. What arthritic knees actually need is consistent, firm structure, not temporary softness. And there's a heel drop sweet spot, not 0, not a thick platform. Around 8 to 10 millimeters, enough to reduce Achilles strain and shift load away from the kneecap, not so much that it stresses your hip. 3 things to look for on your next purchase. Heel drop of 8 to 10 millimeters. Most quality brands list this on their website. A firm midsole, not the marshmallow kind. Medial arch support, especially if your shoes wear unevenly on the inner edge. And one thing most people never hear about. A lateral wedge insole, a small lift on the outer edge of the foot. Clinical trials in arthritis patients found this reduces compression on the inner knee, where most cartilage damage actually sits. That's your real guide. 3 features and 1 overlooked insole. Now, the part I've been saving. After everything we've covered, after shoes and surfaces and joint mechanics, the single most effective change for many people costs nothing. No equipment, and you can do it today. This is going to sound almost too simple after everything we've talked about, but this one adjustment often reduces knee loading more than switching shoes entirely. And unlike shoes, which only help while you're wearing them, this goes with you everywhere. It's called overstriding. Most people do it without ever noticing. Your foot lands too far in front of your body. Heel strikes hard ahead of your center of gravity. That impact travels directly up into your knee with every step. When scientists studied walking patterns, they found the average person's stride is 10 to 15% longer than their body mechanics actually support. The fix? Shorten your stride by about 10%. Slightly smaller steps, slightly quicker pace. Let your foot land closer underneath your body, not reaching out in front of you. That single change can reduce knee joint loading by up to 20%. No shoes, no appointment, no cost. Try it today. First few minutes feel slightly awkward, stay with it. Most people tell me their knees feel noticeably better by the end of that same walk. Remember Carol? She eventually figured this out. The problem wasn't that she needed a more natural shoe. She needed less force going through an arthritic knee, full stop. Once she made the right shoe change and shortened her stride, she got her walks back. That's what this is really about. Your knees don't care what's trending. They care about force. Every step you take today is either protecting those joints or slowly wearing them down. Here's your plan before this week is over. Check the shoes you're wearing right now. Look up the heel drop on the brand's website. 2 minutes. You may be surprised by what you find. If it's under 6 millimeters and your knees have been hurting, you may have just found a big part of your answer. Next shoe purchase, 8 to 10 millimeter drop. Firm midsole, arch support, lateral wedge insole if your inner knee is the main pain point. And on your very next walk, shorten your stride, foot landing underneath you, not in front of you. 3 changes, no surgery, no injections. Just smarter decisions made once that your knees will feel for months. Go check that heel drop. Come back and tell me what you found. I read every comment. If this helped you, hit like. It genuinely helps more people find this information when they need it most. Subscribe if you haven't, because next week I'm breaking down the 5 everyday walking habits that are secretly aging your knees faster after 60. If you feel like your legs are wearing down, you might be doing at least 2 of these without even realizing it. See you then.